And welcome back to Metro Morning Live. Joining me as always, we are happy to have Dr. Eldridge Henderson. He is a public speaker. He is a church speaker. He's a private speaker. You're just a speaker in general, right?
That's right. And any opportunity where someone wants to hear the real news, they can call me at 601-201-1957. I'll talk in their church, their retreats, family reunion, conferences, and give them the real news where they can change their life, status, family, and community in 30, 60, 90 days, guaranteed. And I like to talk about politics and religion.
I know you do, but
guarantee
we don't agree on politics.
Of course not.
We're about to agree in a few days.
I think we will.
Well, Doc, we're not here to talk politics today. Well, we're here to talk about the importance of student loans and how they could be detrimental in a way to some people, right?
That's correct. Believe it or not, Mr. J, student loans and student loan debt are two of the most serious problems college students have, especially college graduates. But those that are in the undergraduate areas now have gotten to the point where their loans are increasing, and later on we'll probably talk about some of the big debts they have. Man, I mean, it's serious.
Is it a bad problem?
It's one of the worst problems that college students face. Right now, in 2016, on an average, the students owe $37,000 that just graduated in May. In 2017, it's predicted that the same student that's in school now that was graduated in May 2017 will owe $39,000. That's a lot of money.
How bad is this problem?
It is so bad until $1.3 trillion is owed to the American banks and the lending agents. 1.3 trillion by over 43.3 million students. Man, that's a lot of folks.
Wow, and you have students continuing to take these loans out. You know of a couple that took a loan out and they lost a house, didn't they?
Well, it's almost. They haven't lost it yet, but it's in foreclosure. To give you an example, this is a student, the young man from this state, Mississippi, went to medical school. He married a young lady he met in class. They got married, and when they got out of school, they owed over $250,000 combined. So they were going to get together, get a good job, which they did too, but they wanted to delay the children. They didn't want to have children early. Messed around and had twins. And there they were with two kids, new jobs, $250,000 plus debt, and they couldn't even own a home, but they got one anyway through good connections with a real estate company, which they probably shouldn't have gotten at the time. And now they are struggling and having some very serious difficulties, and they might lose that home. Now, this is just one example. There are many throughout the country like that.
Well, Doc, who's making money from student loans?
The two groups, the federal government and banks and other lending agencies. To give you a good example, your government, our government, gets these 10-year treasury notes at about 2% interest, give it to the students, charge them about 6.9%, and then they have banks and other lending agencies that will get that same money from the government and loan it to the students for 2.15% to 9.39% interest. So if you get this money and owe $50,000 like most graduate students do, you will be paying until you're 60 years of age unless you pay more than you can afford, and then not buy some of the other things you need as a family person.
Well, you know, with student loans they're attached to you way after you leave school, how do you get rid of them?
It's very easy. One, you pay them. Number two, you have to go and get in a program where you can be forgiven. Sometimes if you're in education, you can get a teaching job in an undeserved area. That'll knock it out. There are other instances where you can go and do some public service work. And the other one is if you're in the medical area, you can get a job in a rural community and stay several years, and that'll cut out up to 90%, sometime more, of that loan. So there are ways to get out of it, but the best way is to not make all the loans that are available. And I told you the reason why a lot of students get these heavy loans.
Wow. I mean, well, Doc, are there too many students enrolled in college?
Of course.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's because it's a fact. If you do the research, you will find that the average student that has a high school diploma and makes about 17, 18 on the ACT, the American College Test, they can get in a college somewhere, especially these public colleges. And many get in, and they will enroll in any major their friends enrolling in. Most times, they don't get counseling in high school, and when they get to college, you know, if you're in a certain major, you might be in recreation, or you might be in mass communication or math. So if you are assigned to that student, you are going to do your best to keep your job, and you will get as many as you can in your major. You don't interview the students, say, this is what's available, I can give you a morning class, and you get them. They get there, next semester they will change the major again when it's too difficult. And many change the major 3 and 4 times in 2 or 3 years. Therefore, they don't ever finish, but they get grants and loans all that time, because it takes the average student about 4 to 6 years to graduate. That's only about 15 to 20%. So that means 70% or so don't ever finish college. They just start and get that money as long as they can, then they drop out.
Well, Doc,
Or get kicked out.
a lot of students need assistance to go to school. Would you advise applying for a student loan?
Well, I would, of course. But I think they should get counseling before they get into the college situation. First, they ought to start in a high school and get good counseling there. And everyone is not really prepared to attend a 4-year university. If they were smart, good counselors would tell a student if he has something like a C- average, make about 18 on ACT, that he should consider a community college first, and this is very important, and look at the health service area or what I call the vocational technical area, so they can make some real money. Nursing, for instance, $50 to $60 to $75,000 a year with a 2-year degree. A nursing assistant can make $15 or $17 an hour. And you better not be smart enough to get in welding, air conditioning and heating, $25 to $75 an hour. Those guys charge that all the time with a 9-month or 2-year degree in those areas. And if you finish 4 years in college, which most people are not going to finish on time, if you get $25,000 with one of those non-teaching degrees, you've been praying a lot to get that.
Well, you know, I've been hearing, you know, during this political season that one of the candidates is saying that they're going to make college free. Do you agree with that?
That's a good idea, but that's not going to happen. Now, a candidate will say anything when they run for office. They can't pay the debt now. We owe probably about $6 trillion in debt, you know, the American nation. So they're not going to do that. If I were running for president, I would say the same thing. I would say I'm going to get everybody a new car, no college
But Doc, you would have
fees.
to bag that promise
You
up.
don't bag it up. You just say it. And then when you get in office, you then say, we have reviewed the budget, and we have so many additional responsibilities. We can't do this, but we're going to put it off until the next session.
Yes, sir.
And they do that on, and in about 3 years, people forget about it because there are so many other issues. And if they start talking about it, they will create a problem, so it will be in the back of the newspaper.
Well, we're not going to agree on politics.
No, we're not, because you are a certain person with some bad ideas. You support the wrong candidate, which we're not going to get into.
You don't know who I'm
I
supporting.
know who you support. I know.
Well, Doc,
I know certain people.
Is there anything else you'd like to add this morning, Doc?
I would. I want young people and others to understand that if they want to finish college, they ought to look at a career or trade first. And this is bad news. People don't like to hear it. Why would one go to college for 4 years knowing he's not going to get a job in his area because he has not even researched the area to see if there are jobs in the next 5 or 10 years in that area, when one can go to a small community college somewhere and get a skill or technical area, make $25 to $65 or $70 an hour, and then attend a senior college and go part-time or 3/3 time while they're working, making that big money, and they won't even have a big debt.
Well, Doc,
possibly no debt.
yes, sir. Well, Doc, it's always good to hear from you every week. You share your knowledge with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. I can do that, but I want you to think about your political deal. Now, I told you the other day that you have a little problem there,
No,
Mr. J.
we're not going to agree on that.
We're not going to agree on it.
We're never going to agree.
But my job is to help you change your life and status.
Yes, sir.
In 30, 60, or 90 days.
Yes, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Stay with us. More Metro Morning Live after the break.